Welcome to the Filmcast review of Final Destination Bloodlines. I'm going to read the plot summary of this movie from IMDb. Plagued by a recurring violent nightmare, a college student returns home to find the one person who can break the cycle and save her family from the horrific fate that inevitably awaits them, end quote. Now, we recently reviewed Final Destination 1 on the After Dark. And I should say, we're probably going to spoil all previous Final Destination films until this point to talk about this movie.
Yeah.
There's some stuff we want to mention. You know, there was one thing we didn't mention in the After Dark that I felt bad about. So Jeff, you've only seen the one Final Destination movie, right?
Correct. Actually, two now, but these are the only two.
Oh yeah, these are the only two.
And part of the two.
Yeah, and first 10 minutes of the second movie. Yeah,
which is great. Yeah,
there was an amazing moment in Final Destination 5 that we didn't mention that really ties into Final Destination 1. But essentially all the movies have the same formula where it's like one person has a premonition and then they start dodging death and then they may or may not live to the end of the movie. And Final Destination 5 starts in very much the same way. And there's this incredible moment, spoilers for Final Destination 5, where you get to the end of the movie and you think, oh, the main character has survived to the end of the movie. Amazing. They've cheated death. And then they're getting on a plane. And then you realize that plane is the same plane flight as the plane flight in Final Destination 1. It's like this incredible, like, holy shit, we've been watching a prequel for Final Destination 1 this whole time. Amazing moment. Just wanted to shout that out. And it's relevant because it's like ties in with like what's going on in this movie as well. But anyway, there's some really fun time things in all the Final Destination movies, as well as this one, of course. So, Devindra, it's been like 14 years since the last Final Destination movie has come out. We've been huge fans of it. You and I have been huge fans of this franchise for a very long time. We have new directors stepping into the director's chair for this one. We've got a brand new cast of characters. It's a new era, a new generation is experiencing this for the first time. Do you think Final Destination Bloodlines lives up to its pedigree?
Absolutely. I think this is one of the best Final Destination movies. This movie understood the assignment in ways that we will talk about next week that I don't think Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning did. Like, this movie knew exactly what it needed to do. It sat down and accomplished it. It gave us some great kills, some like really fun character dynamics. Like, you know, this is not the best acting in the world in a lot of these movies, but I think for what this series is, you've got a group of kids who are a little silly. Sometimes they all have their own distinct characteristics. But what this movie does is it plays with the formula in really, really fun ways. I was constantly surprised by this movie. And that's what I want. Surprise and delight me. That's why I watch this franchise. And all the kills are really fun. It pulls the rug out from under you several times. It has some really fun times with the mechanics of what we know of Final Destination. It's also really, really great send-off for Tony Todd, too. Like, I choked up a little bit because there's a scene with him, and we'll talk about that. His last film scene ever, I thought that was incredible, too. Like, this movie gave me everything I wanted and more. I expected it to be, like, a pretty decent horror movie, but I think this movie is excellent, and I am not surprised it's doing so well in theaters. Like, people are talking about this. My audience was fully on board, like, reacting to how like crazy insane things got. This is a movie that delivers exactly what fans of this franchise want, and it's also like doing new and interesting things as well. So yeah, I loved it.
Glad to hear, Devindra. How about you, Jeff Kanata? What did you think of Final Destination Bloodlines?
Well, Dave, I guess you could say what I thought of Final Destination Bloodlines is best summed up in the form of a limerick.
Let's hear it, Jeff.
What you come to this franchise for ain't the plot, and it ain't the lore. It's inventive kills, and this one fulfills that promise and ramps up the gore.
Nice.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm a neophyte to this franchise, but I feel like I get the gist.
Are you sure, Jeff? It's pretty layered. Like, there's a lot of...
Like, I'm picking up when it's laying down. You know what I'm saying? And I got to say, you know, I get the rap for being the guy that you know, isn't into horror movies in general and slasher movies in specific. And that's mostly true. But I'm not immune to the joys of a fun kill in a movie, you know? And this movie has some fun kills, some gruesome kills. It revels in a slow, gruesome death a few times, to the point where a couple of times I turned away from the screen, just like, whoa. But they're always really clever, I think. And there's some very specific thing about a sort of setup and payoff of a death, where you have a character that's got, certain attributes that we've seen them have, and then those attributes are key to their final demise, final destination. And this movie really knows what it's doing in that regard. Like it's very fun. And you're right, Devindra, there's some great rug pulls as well. Here's what I don't like about these movies. And I've only seen 2 of them, but it seems like it tracks. None of it makes any damn sense. And that's okay. That's okay. But so this movie, there's a sequence where I'll tread lightly. No spoilers here, but there's a moment where we're talking about people from the 50s, and we literally have like a classic, red string board, and they're like, all these people who were grown-ass adults in 1950, you're not going to believe this, they're dead now. And I was like, yeah, that's how death works.
Yeah, thanks.
This is what the problem that I have with the Final Destination franchise is, when you have a hockey masked immortal killer, when you have a man who only shows up in your dreams, when you have these horror creations that can have attributes and can have rule sets that you can define in your movie, I'm willing to suspend my disbelief and go, oh wow, I don't know anything about a man who only shows up in my dreams but could kill me if I sleep. Okay, you're telling me, I'm believing you. Let's do this. But when you're talking about death, which is something that literally every human being is familiar with, it's hard for me to suspend my disbelief and go, oh, death works like this now? Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't been literally living my entire life surrounded by people dying and not dying all day long. Like it's not, oh, there's some facet of death. No, it's just the concept of death is coming to get you. It's like, okay, but it's also coming to get all of us.
There's a real winning in this franchise. Like, it's gonna get you eventually, unless you're a vampire.
But like, that's just called life. That's just called what life is. And so I have a hard time just on the sort of basic premise of the Final Destination franchise in and of itself. It is funny to me, though, that there are characters in this movie that are doing everything they can. They're hyper aware of every potential threat, to which I call, that's living with my wife.
That's me right now. Yeah.
My wife was raised by a father who was a fire chief. Career firefighter. Yeah. So literally every single thing in the world he interprets through what's the worst thing that can happen with that.
Because he's lived through Final Destination scenarios.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's watched it. He's cleaned up after it, And mad props to anyone who could have that job, because it's not something that I could stomach. It is not something I have the constitution for in any stretch of the imagination. So I have a lot of respect for that. But also, it means my wife is always thinking of the worst possible scenario that could happen at any given time. So I felt a lot of kinship with a lot of characters in this movie. But again, nothing supernatural about that. That's just called going through the world day to day. So, there's some specific stuff that I want to talk about in spoilers in that regard of like, nothing special here. And also it kind of betrays any notion of suspension of disbelief when it's just the rules you're establishing are patently in opposition to the things that I experience every single day in my life. Right. So anyway, again, like I said in the limerick, not here for the lore. I don't think. not here for a great plot, which I don't think this movie necessarily has, but it does have a series of awesome kills. It does, it kept my attention. It kept me going. Likable enough characters, and just the moment to moment of how are they going to get it? Are they going to get it? Oops, not that way. Oh, that way.
Yeah.
Is a fun enough roller coaster ride.
It's super fun.
That, and again, the gruesomeness and the sort of delight in which it shows you that gruesomeness is pretty fun.
But Jeff, that flaw you're pointing out to me, that is the special sauce of this franchise, because there is no winning. They're kind of, we've watched 6 of these movies. There are very few ways to survive, and it doesn't end up well for the people who actually do survive. Like Ollie Larder's character basically had to be in an insane asylum. I forgot, my memory is fuzzy. Has somebody actually killed to survive in the sequels? Like that was the other thing they brought up, but it's not. There's no winning. There's nothing you can do.
Yeah, but even the process of mitigating it, I'll get to that in spoilers, but even the process of mitigating it to me is like, what? Come on.
We do what we can.
I have a few thoughts. I think I really like this movie. The kills in this movie are just so good. Yeah, I was cackling with how good some of these kills were, and we'll talk about exactly how it plays out in the trailer. In the spoiler section. But I just want to say I appreciate that these directors played with the audience expectation of what is in the Final Destination formula. And Jeff, I know you haven't seen as many of the movies, but Devindra and I have, and basically like all movies have similar, like they have kind of a template, right? And this movie changes a lot of those elements in ways that are kind of interesting and inventive, and that improves upon the template. It so improves upon it that I'm like, I don't even know how they follow this one up.
Yeah,
because
this is the perfect.
They've already made all these changes, and without like the only way they could like maintain this is if they like just do this again, which maybe they will. But like, I'll just give like 2 quick examples of what that is. Right, one big example is that I had interviewed the director, and he was saying how Zach was saying how like there's this problem in the Final Destination movies called the who's next problem, where the problem is this group of random strangers is brought together by chance, and then one of them dies horribly, and then it's like, okay, who's next? Like, and let's move on with it. Like, no one gives a shit about that person. Like, we're moving on to the next one. In this movie, they figured out a way around that because they made everyone related. Which
That's
is like,
smart.
oh, yeah, very smart. That's just like smart, like screenwriting. And there was another thing that I thought they did that was very clever, which is like in general, in the Final Destination movies, when it cuts to hey the jock at the gym or whatever, it's like, oh, that guy's gonna eat it. He's gonna die. In this movie, there's frequently scenes where you don't know who's gonna die, and that's another like kind of twist on the formula that I thought was kind of cool. So it's clearly made by people who love the franchise. The kills are great, and it like reinvents the formula in fun and interesting ways. Great entry into the Final Destination franchise.
Also, I would just say just well made too. Like the intricacies of the various reasons for the kills happening, the actual setups of it.
Yeah.
I think these films are really, really well edited too. Like I have an editor friend who I was like, you should just see how they construct and put these scenes together. There's a lot of heart to this movie too. That's kind of sweet and kind of hits you out of nowhere. We'll talk about Tony Todd's scene too. Like this movie just really encapsulates a lot of things I love about this franchise, but about horror movies in general too.
All right, let's get the spoilers for Final Destination Bloodlines starting right now. All right. So yeah, one of the big things about this movie, Tony Todd is in this movie, and he does not look well in this movie. He looks very frail, but it was very important for him to be in the movie. And apparently he improvised some of his final lines in the film, which is very beautiful. And you really get the sense, this is like one of those instances where it's like, it's the fusion of the actor and the character, right? Like,
yeah.
The character is speaking, but it's also the actor is saying something. And in his final lines, he talks about how you never know when death is coming for you, right? And so he basically is like, fuck this. I'm not going to pay attention to this stuff anymore. I'm just going to try to enjoy my life.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately kind of one of the messages, insofar as this franchise has any messages. That is one of them. Which is like, you never know when death's coming for you, so you might as well enjoy life while you can.
It's one of those like good life lessons just pinned somewhere that you see it every day, because it's like, Jeff, like I'm a lot like your wife, I think, in terms of like, oh, I'm always seeing those dangers. I'm always like stressing about those things. But after a certain point, like you have to let go, because yes, it could happen at any point, but also you don't want your life to be, you don't want to be the person sitting in an insane asylum trying to figure all this out. There's a world weariness to the character, to Tony Todd's character in this one. I was just like, yeah, he's just like, I get it. I've tried to help all these kids. It has not worked out so well.
Jeff, you haven't seen it, but like in the other Final Destination movies, he explains what happens in the Final Destination, to all the people.
Maybe this time.
Did you guys see the reveal coming of the little boy in the early part being him?
Oh yeah,
I think so.
Because we cut back to him. Yeah. We cut back to him, and also it's him and the woman surviving too. It was like, oh yes, this is exactly why you're doing this. I thought that was really fun and clever, and not like too overly staged or anything. I also love that they give him the little Candyman whistle as he walks away too. Like, just only the people who love Tony Todd will notice that. But it's in this movie, and I can appreciate that.
His final lines are, I intend to enjoy the time I have left, and I suggest you do the same. Life is precious. Enjoy every single second. You never know when. Good luck. End quote.
Yeah.
So,
and right after that, they're like, I believe that guy. He's very charismatic. Whatever he says, like, I think we should listen to him, actually.
I enjoyed that they had the opening death sequence is in a similar but legally distinct structure to the Space Needle, where
set in a coastal city with a lot of bridges. That looks like it's in a very similar space to the Space Needle as well.
It's
very similar position.
It's an unnamed city in this movie.
Yeah, I was like, that's Seattle, huh?
It feels similar to it could be a Vancouver thing as well. A lot of the movies take place in Vancouver.
Oh yeah, they're so different.
CN Tower
Seattle and Vancouver.
Yeah.
Could be CN Tower from Toronto. Similar.
If you've ever been to the top of the Space Needle, it is kind of scary. Like the elevator goes up super fast, right? And it's like, and I love they capture like the elevator's like, oh, it's kind of like rickety. You don't necessarily like that. And it's just watching the movie, I just get the sense of this like glee. There's just this glee of like the piano at the beginning where it's like,
so
okay,
good.
that's funny. That's a funny thing. Or the penny stuff I really enjoy when it's like the penny like goes into the ventilation and it's like ping and it like hits the phantom, like, so good. But my favorite kill in the movie is gotta be the shard of glass in the drink.
Really?
That's fun too.
Really?
The MRI machine.
Dude, that's
such
the one.
That's the one for you. The MRI
machine.
Oh, man.
So good.
Yeah.
Literally pulling him inside out backwards. So
that's very rough. But I love the glass because first of all, I think Shard of Glass is gonna become as iconic as Log Through Head. Like a whole generation of people, like they don't drive behind logging trucks because of and I think a lot of people are going to be like fearing Shard of Glass in drink. In my opinion,
you should. But my thing about that kill, my thing about that idea though is like, you really have to be chomping on the glass. You really got to be chomping on the ice.
They show that guy.
Normal people. They show that guy chomping at. They really good sound effects of that. But normal people would just be like, gonna take a little sip. Ice stays right there. Huh? That ice didn't melt. Well, interesting.
Do you guys not chew ice? I chew ice. So like
sometimes, but it's bad.
But what's also awesome about that scene is obviously the glass is not what kills him, right?
Right.
It's something. It's a whole sequence of things, and that's what's so. You're the whole time you're like, oh,
the whole time.
But then
that
it's like
whole yard is a whole setup. The Jenga blocks. Is it the Jenga blocks? Is it
the Jenga blocks?
Everything.
Yeah,
the
dude.
grill?
I'm surprised that is your favorite scene, your favorite death, though. I mean, that's a good one, but I don't think it holds a candle to MRI machine. I don't think it holds a candle to garbage trucks.
Garbage truck.
Oh yeah, that was.
And the setup to the garbage truck.
I love the first one with the ring peeling the skin off the finger.
Oh
yeah. They're all
something so horrible about that.
The thing about Shard of Glass is that's the best setup. That's the most obvious. Like, we're here. We've got all these characters. So anything could happen in one point.
I just love it's the thing falls on the hose and then you see the hose like inflate and it's like such a chaotic.
Yeah.
Hoses don't inflate in a straight line. It's like inflate and you see like, oh, this is like the chaos. It's like anything could happen at this point. And then the rake falls. It's just like I just thought it was
Yeah.
genius. I love.
And then
that-
somebody
that-
sees the rake, the
Yeah.
the distant mom sees the rake, like calling that out. But yeah, also the
trampolines,
the
fucking
trampoline
terrifying. Like I'm
trampolines
like,
are
who
terrifying.
Would do
Don't
this
buy
I'm
voluntarily?
okay. It's so great.
Yeah.
I'm okay. I'm okay.
But it's all about it's the setup. I love the
Yeah.
setups more than the actual kills in this movie at certain points, like that whole garden sequence in the backyard, but also the whole thing. We see that kid in the tattoo parlor. That's the trailer for this movie. I don't know if you guys saw that, but that whole scene is the trailer. And
Yeah.
for months, I'm like, oh, that guy's dead. That character's
Yeah.
dead. They just showed us the character die. In this movie, he just walks right back out the next morning. You're like,
Amazing.
this movie just like is really always messing with you, especially the
Yes.
audience who saw those trailers.
And then
like,
later
I kind of
he-
love that.
There's that shot of him like from he looks like he's into the street, and then you think the truck's
Yeah.
gonna hit him, and then it doesn't hit him. It
Doesn't hit him.
It's in a direct mirroring of that sequence from Final Destination 1. You know, I love
He
that.
walks down the street like, what's going to happen? That blower is going to blow a soccer ball into something, and that's what's going to happen. And like, we go through
then
that.
it
He's
does.
fucking with death, and
Yeah.
then it does happen in the background, out of focus.
So
Beautiful.
good. And
Beautiful.
The
Yeah.
slow-mo, her being in the garbage truck, which again is like a terrifying notion that the thing is going
Yep.
to close on you in slow motion.
Right.
And I love the beat of, oh, I've got her, I'm about to pull her out.
Right.
And then the brother stopping the car in
Yep.
front, thinking he's doing a good thing, but the jolt of that is what prevents her from getting out.
Mm.
And she falls back in, and then she's almost out, and her face, the slow motion of her face collapsing.
Oh man.
Yeah.
It's just rough.
Yeah.
And I love
So
that.
gruesome.
So we have the funeral after that scene, and then right after that. So before that, the whole family's like, "You're crazy! Look at this crazy murder wall. I'm not going to listen to you." After that girl dies, cut to right back to the living room. Probably should have listened to you.
Yeah.
I think you're correct. Yes, maybe you have
But-
a point.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But yeah,
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well,
One of the great reveals of the movie is that, like, theoretically, all the Final Destination movies happen because of the events of this movie, right? That's
Mhm. Mhm.
which is a fun way of playing with the title. It's like because what happens,
Yeah.
Jeff, is like a group of seeming strangers avoids death in every Final Destination
Right.
movie, and then it's like in this one you find out they're all connected. Like it's all because
That's very
they're
cool.
kids of the people that were in this original accident. You know, that
It's
was
very cool.
That was cool.
But this notion that death is so busy, it's taking him so long to get around to all these people. Like, put it on my schedule. Like, death is like they literally say it's taking him a long time to work through this list. It's like,
Well,
what? Come on.
It's like a side gig. Death has to do his normal job of
yeah,
killing
yeah,
everybody.
This is like
And now these
this is
other
like
people.
overtime for him.
Yeah,
The thing that,
yeah.
the thing, honestly, the thing that did bother me, the one thing I didn't like about this movie was the grandmother. I did not feel like that person's house was configured in such a way to avoid death.
It's not
No.
very safe. It should have been
It's
safer. Too
ridiculous.
many
Like, it's-
pointy
it's-
things.
She's like complete minimalist.
Yeah.
No objects, right? Like
She used to
everything
live in
soft,
Magneto's
everything
jail from
soft.
X-Men 2.
And-
Yeah.
Like-
And what is the reason that setting foot outside that safe space is unsafe? Like,
Yeah,
it's
that
just
didn't make
arbitrary.
any sense to me. I wish they had. And then she has like all this like stuff in the junkyard, and it's like that's all stuff that can
Tetanus.
kill you.
Tetanus.
Yes.
I just feel
Yes.
like
You're down.
the
Yeah.
whole notion of like, oh, all these people from the 50s have died. It's like, yeah, of course they have. It feels like it would have been very simple to just say they all died in very extraordinary ways.
I think they
Now-
did say that.
Well, I think that's implied, Jeff.
Yeah,
I think
that's
implied.
that. Yeah,
Eh,
like
that's implied.
these deaths
Maybe,
were
but,
kind of crazy.
Like the idea
Yeah.
of we tracked all these names, and guess what? They're all dead. It's like, yeah, they'd be in there.
But I think you're
late
saying
80s.
they all would have died anyway. So it's like
Sure.
Death is a thing. Like we all. It's.
Yeah.
I have a
Could've
hard
been,
time putting the pieces together because they all died. It's like, yeah, everyone does. You're not
Everyone
going to
dies.
believe this.
I was thinking of the movie The Monkey, which has a lot of Final Destination energy that we
yeah,
reviewed.
totally.
And that movie has a lot of quick cuts to like crazy deaths. And maybe this
Yeah.
could have used some of that. Like some of those sprinkle in some extra deaths. You know,
Mhm.
I know you guys are working really hard to create these massive set pieces, quick deaths to really sell this. The thing about the grandmother that's a lot of fun though is that it's like, how do I convince you? How do I really convince you that all this is happening? Oh, well, I guess my time is up. And
Yeah.
I think that immediate thought process, I was cackling at the movie that it just did that. I was like, yeah,
Seeing
I
is
can't put this into
believing,
words.
right?
Seeing is
her
believing.
line.
Here you go. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. But I just, I don't know. I just need some I feel like I need some reason why death can't get you in certain places and it can get, and this whole notion of like, well, I'm not actually related to the family, so I guess I'm invulnerable. It's like, no, you can still die to things can still kill you.
to normal things. There was one of the characters' final destination was like doing shit because they thought they were out of the timeline, right? Right, Dave? That was a fun twist on it. Somebody oh, I'm invulnerable because I'm not next. And may not always work that way. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But by and large, I thought the way they played with the formula was very clever and subverts your expectations. The movie is constantly trying to surprise you, and I appreciated that was the case. I will say, I think like the final death sequence was like not the strongest. Like
it's a bummer that was the last thing. That like, was the mic drop moment. Yeah.
Right. There's so many amazing death sequences like leading up, and the finale is kind of like not as strong as the other sequences, compared to that.
I agree.
But overall, like a really, really strong entry. And a lot of good stuff for Final Destination fans. I will also give a shout out to the penny. I just like the penny as like a motif.
Penny's good.
That goes throughout the thing, and the kid is doing it, and then at the end, the old lady, she drops a penny, and then it gets lodged in the train tracks and so on, which is always like a nightmare of mine growing up. I read a Calvin and Hobbes comic about like a penny being lodged in a train track, and it's like, is that possible? I need to look into that to see if that's possible.
This is definitely Dave's childhood.
Yes.
It's a wonderful metaphor because it is or motif, I guess I should say, because it is the coin flip is a representative of chance, and it perfectly encapsulates that idea in one image. It feels like that should have always been the Final Destination. It should have been their ghost face, right? It is a coin.
Yeah, the coin. Yeah. But this is the first movie that introduced it, and I like the closing credits, like the way the penny's like rolling. It was a nice package there. So anyway,
had a lot more fun with this movie than I thought I would. It really is.
You get it, Jeff. You get it.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
I am really curious, like, I want to understand more why it so resonates with audiences right now. Apparently the numbers for unaided awareness among young women, like women under 25, were like super strong. Like that was like the strongest demographic is young, like women under 25. And it's just like, what is it about that demographic that like this movie really resonates with? I would be curious to learn more, and I probably will like read more about it when in the days ahead. But yeah, this movie has captured the zeitgeist. Like people are like, we're afraid that everything's gonna kill us. Yeah. And there's something about watching a movie like this where you can experience extremely elaborate deaths vicariously without any danger to yourself that I think people really enjoy.
Maybe you live in a world where your government is actively trying to kill you.
Yeah.
Maybe you just want an escape from that.
Maybe. Yeah. Or you can experience it like cathartically through this, that's my theory. But anyway, yeah.
I mean, like I'm a very anxious person. I think that's it. You get a cathartic response where you're like, oh man, everything is trying to kill me, and maybe I should just let go and enjoy life once in a while. Thank you, Tony Todd, for that message.
Indeed. All right, at the end of the day,
real horror is that none of them have health care.
Yes. At the end of the day, it is really impressive that Adam Stein and Zach Lipovsky made a movie. Thank you so much for watching this video of the Filmcast. Check out these other videos that we have available, and be sure to hit like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to get other videos from us in the future.
You can also go to thefilmcast.com to catch all of our audio podcast versions of all of our episodes.
And support this podcast at patreon.com/filmpodcast, where you can sign up for ad-free episodes and exclusive After Darks.
Thanks so much to everyone who makes the Filmcast possible.